Well, hey, thanks for being here. Mike Boehm, always good to see you. Hope you're having a good summer.
Great to see you, Troy, absolutely.
And one thing that we are doing this summer that we did not get to do last year, field days, they are back. So what's the engagement been like throughout the state?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it started for me with the wheat and small grains field days. I think during the hottest period in June, sometime in the middle June teens, took us out to Grant, to our Stump Wheat Research Center. That was really terrific. Probably one of the highlights of that, and then all of the successive field days that took us over to McCook and then over to a 50-year celebration at the High Plains Ag Lab, and then over to Scotts Bluff, and we finished our time up at Hemingford and then back over to Lincoln. So Archie Clutter and I think we clocked about 1,400 miles in 3 days. But one of the highlights was to see Dr. Catherine Farrell's, our new small grains breeder, taking over after Steve Benzinger's amazing run. So that was terrific, but no, I'm not kidding you. It was 103 degrees, and when the sun went down, thank goodness in the Panhandle, it got to about 92, 93, and in the shade it felt pretty good. But so that was the first field day. Last Friday we had a chance to go up to Barter Brothers Ranch with the Ag Builders of Nebraska, and that's an amazing platform. So for the listeners or viewers who might not know, that's up in Rock and Brown County, just north of Rose and a little to the west. And it's a fantastic 5,200 acre Sandhills ranch that allows us to take a look at rangeland management, profitability for people who run their cattle in the Sandhills, but also looking at resilience of probably one of our most exciting working agricultural landscapes, the Sandhills. And so thinking about resilience, and during that time there was a really neat session about what did the Sandhills look like 2,000 years ago, 10,000 years ago. And of course, if you visit Morrill Hall, you can see the natural history of Nebraska. But really, probably 4 or 5 times, Troy, the Sandhills in that 10,000 year period toggled between what we know the Sandhills to be today and basically sand dunes. And so we had a big conversation with producers there about how their management of the Sandhills and their stewardship of that natural land, how that is just so critical to the resilience and from keeping it going into, sand dunes. And so it was really an interesting trip. We have some field days coming up. August 19th, we're heading out to the Panhandle for their crop field day. We have the Goodmanson Sandhills Laboratory field day on the 25th. I think the 24th, I think I've got my dates right. We have the West Central Station field day, and then when is it, the 18th maybe? Somewhere in there, Scal field day is also in the queue. We've had Haskell Ag Lab field day up in Northeast. So yeah, there's been a lot of field days running right in there. I'll get that date right for you. South Central Ag Lab is coming up a lot sooner. It's July 28th. So yeah, obviously I don't manage my calendar. I just show up where I'm supposed to be.
Well, hey, you have a lot going on, busy time this summer for sure. And then closer to home here on East Campus, Discovery Days, that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, so I think, I don't know if this was the first time, but it's certainly been the first time in a long time. We've been talking about this since I arrived in Nebraska. How do we open up the East Campus and provide some visibility to our neighbors, right? The people who live in our neighborhood, but also who might not be intensely interested in agriculture, but certainly like to eat. Enjoy dairy store ice cream, and so we had one day in June, one day in July, and now we have the last one on August 14th. So that's coming up here in a couple of weeks, where we invited our academic departments and our faculty, our students, to actually line the mall right outside here and engage with folks. And we did it. They run from 10 o'clock till 2. And I would say we probably, the first time, had somewhere between 550 to 600 people. We had vendors, we had food trucks. The food trucks and the vendors were running out of merchandise and food. So the second time, July 10th, when they came, it was they brought plenty, and they still sold out.
Okay.
But the other cool part of that, so the dairy store was open, of course. The bowling alley was open. The Master Gardener Backyard Farmer Gardens were open. The new Dinsdale Family Learning Commons were open, so people got to see the angler entrepreneurship space. It was just an absolutely family-friendly, dog-friendly opportunity to engage the People's University, kind of kick the tires and discover amazing things that we offer here at the Institute.
Yeah, definitely a fun time. Market Journal has a booth there too for anybody watching.
I saw.
Yeah, lot of fun. Yeah, we spoke to you there. So also Nebraska's commodity boards. IANR continues to have very strong relationships with Soybean Board, Corn Board, Nebraska Department of Agriculture. What are some things happening?
Dry Bean Commission, Nebraska Cattlemen, Dairy Association, and the list goes on. Great things go on. First and foremost, we have an amazing and supportive commodity group, both the growers groups and then the commodity boards that distribute checkoff dollars and royalty dollars from germplasm that we develop through our genetics and our breeding programs here. But just fantastic opportunity. I really have enjoyed my time this last year. I made it a priority to visit with the boards. Had a chance to go out to Kearney recently and visit with the soybean board, and that was a real treat because that was the morning that UNL faculty, IANR faculty, were showcasing the research findings from the research that the soybean board promotes, and had a chance to give an update and then actually visit and have lunch with members of the board. And they're very at an exciting point. They have a new executive director, and they're looking at their own strategic journey. So where are they today? Where do they want to get the next 3 to 5 years? So that was fantastic. Both the Corn Board and the Soybean Board have been recently tremendous partners here in a partnership that CASNR, the College of Agricultural Sciences and Natural Resources, has with Lincoln Public Schools, where both of those boards put $25,000 on the table to be used by Lincoln Northeast High School science, social study, and math teachers to rewrite their entire 9th grade curriculum such that every 9th grader showing up at Northeast Lincoln High School will learn their social studies, math, and science through the lens of food, energy, water, and societal systems. It's a fantastic program. I had a chance to visit with reps from both those boards and 35 school teachers, and just amazing. And we're doing similar things in Northeast Nebraska and out in the Panhandle. So none of that would be possible without the boards. We already talked about the field days and the small grains breeding program and the support of that program, and of course Nebraska Cattlemen, just fantastic. And the Dry Bean Commission, you know, we're the #1 producer of so many dry edible beans here, and it really is special. So thanks to all the members of the commodity boards. We really appreciate the partnership.
Yeah, very, very cool. Always happy to have all those groups on board. So also this summer, and you know, we could spend 30 minutes talking about the research that IANR is doing, but you know, continuing to hit it out of the park and so much momentum.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, surprising things happen with the COVID, right? It was a tough period. I don't think we're out of the woods yet, but we modified our team members, our faculty, staff, students, our producers, everybody just, you know, demonstrated the Nebraska grit and tenacity and innovated through that whole time. And, you know, it was amazing. We had a record high year in our research in the Institute. So kudos to Dean Archie Clutter and the entire crew in the Ag Research Division, but mainly kudos to our faculty. Some highlights for me, if I were just kind of run down there, we had nearly $64 million in research expenditures in the last year. If we go back 10 years, when Ronnie Green came here, we were at 45. So between Ronnie's efforts and hiring amazing faculty, staff, and students, and then, you know, last 5 years, I feel like we just kept the momentum going. That was incredible. IANR faculty were responsible for 47% of all research expenditures at UNL. So when we think about the prowess of this university at making a difference through our research, discovery, and innovation agenda, IANR is right there. And so, you know, kudos to the faculty, but kudos also to the students, and thanks again to the commodity boards. Yeah, records wherever you looked, record number of grants submitted, record number of new grants awarded. I think we had 470 grants awarded. So this was really pretty spectacular, no question about it.
And if you could speak for a second regarding precision ag, because Nebraska is becoming a real leader in that technology.
Yeah, I would say we've always been a real leader, but I think when I came here, the Nebraska modesty maybe is a couple log units a little more modest than where I came from in Ohio, or my wife from Indiana, and so we're still Midwesterners, so we're pretty modest. But truth of the matter is that we are doing all kinds of incredible work in precision. So if we think about drought, certainly the National Drought Mitigation Center and the National Drought Monitor, such a jewel, an asset, 25 years in the making. Mm-hmm. We've got the High Plains Climate Center, we've got the State Meteorological Office, we've got the Conservation Survey Division. We've then added some new centers into that space, right? So the Center for Resilience and Agricultural Working Landscapes, or the Center for Ag Profitability that we talked about the last time. I mean, tying all of that together. So when I think about climate, drought, resilience, the economic impact, all of those, but also precision livestock production, I suppose now flock production with our turkey and broiler operations, but also our integrated crops and water systems. 80,000 miles of rivers, an aquifer that if you pumped it out has as much water as Lake Huron. I mean, just absolutely. And then thinking about how we nurture those natural resources, thinking about soil health, whether that's the use of cover crops or thinking about how our production practices influence soil, influence water quality, it's all integrated, and we do integrated systems thinking better than anywhere in the country. And so where are we going? Well, we've been working with Congressman Jeff Fortenberry's office. He's been advocating quite intensively as the ranking member of the Ag Subcommittee for the House Appropriations Committee, and he has just been on fire, and we really appreciate his contributions to helping move us forward. But part of that is to create a new center on the Innovation Campus around resilient and regenerative precision agriculture. So that will more than double the footprint of USDA Agriculture Research Service scientists and engineers here in Lincoln. Really cool, Troy, when you think about USDA presence from Clay Center, the U.S. Meat Animal Research Center, and then Lincoln. If all this goes as planned, we should see nearly 100 USDA scientists and engineers all focused on precision and resilient ag. And guess what? That marries up nice to our 600 faculty here. So it's a kind of a 1-2 punch, and that will squarely punctuate for the entire country and the world that the Silicon Prairie is the place for precision agriculture and natural resource management. Pretty exciting.
Most definitely so. And real quick before we let you go, you touched on the Center for Agricultural Profitability.
Yeah.
That is now up and running. Any more details you want to share on that?
No, I think it's up and running. It really is focused on how we ensure the profitability of Nebraska's producers and lead to economic vitality. And there's some information on their website. I think if you just Google, candidly, Google Center for Ag Profitability, UNL, it'll pop right up and take you there. There's also a website that folks can visit.